Boy, am I excited about this one. It's going to be a little bit different than what I usually do today because today I need to talk about this beef between Kendrick Lamar and Drake. I didn't know for sure if I was going to talk about it. I didn't necessarily feel like I've got the best perspective. I didn't know if I was the right person to talk about. I'm a fan of the music. I'm a fan of Kendrick Lamar's. I like some of Drake's music, not as much, but I do like some of his music. So I feel like I have at least some semblance of a right to say how the whole situation makes me feel. Because it's the only thing that has been taking over my thoughts, my speech, and my For You page at this point. So I figure I might as well add to the mix on some commentary that I have. One of the main points that I have to make in regards to it is the fact that I understand that it does not matter. At the end of the day, it doesn't change my life. I'm not losing sleep over what Kendrick's going to say to Drake or what Drake's going to say back. It doesn't affect me like that. But as a fan and as a consumer of the music, it does kind of affect me because think about it. I mean, we've gotten a good amount of music just out of the past week off of this beef. And in the same amount of time, Post Malone and Morgan Wallen have been teasing their collab for what feels like a month, maybe 2 months. And at what point can artists just start putting out music? I don't know what a record label has to do with it. I'm sure building hype is a big deal. I mean, obviously TikTok songs are all over the place when it comes to what's popular and what's not. But I mean, think about it. Think about the fact that I can open TikTok, and maybe it's just because I've been following it so much, it's what my For You page looks like. But every single time I open TikTok, I hear Kendrick Lamar talking about how much he hates everything about Drake. Like, it is such a big influence, or it's just people talking about the influence that it has. And that's a big cultural moment, and it's fun to be a part of it. It's something that everyone's talking about. So yeah, you want to talk about it too. You want to feel included. But again, at the end of the day, I'm not losing sleep over it. Neither of these two artists are going to die. I don't think. I don't think either Kendrick Lamar or Drake is going to eventually turn up in a Suburban, the same way that Tupac and Biggie did. I don't think it's that serious. Maybe it is to them. I mean, maybe Kendrick's really going too far and exposing Drake for being a creep. I don't know, but it's one of those funny situations where you look at the history of hip hop and you look at that situation between Tupac and Biggie, and that was another cultural moment. You had people rallying around these two figures when realistically they're just some dude spitting into a mic. Like, yeah, he's got bars, but at the end of the day, does it really affect you? But think of the time that we're in right now. Think of everything that's going on in the political landscape, everybody's social landscape, everybody's spending more money than they feel like they're making. You just want to focus on something that doesn't really matter to you. And you want to have something to rally around that isn't that circumstantial. You rally around the presidential nominee, and at the end of the election, if your guy lost, it feels like a big deal. But to rally around Kendrick Lamar or Drake, at the end of the day, who really gives a shit? Like, they're arguing over this crown that doesn't really exist, that's entirely metaphorical and symbolic based on their own interpretation of other people's interpretation of them, if you think about it. So the consequences of this are not as severe as the consequences of a lot of other issues in people's everyday lives. So I think it just makes it comforting to have something to look at and go, oh, did you hear that new Kendrick Lamar track? As opposed to, oh, did you hear President Biden tripped over his words again? Like, little things like that feel different when it's less consequential, when it doesn't have the same weight to it. And OG hip hop, it's so strongly discussed, like flexing. People are trying to flex. This guy's got more of this than the other guy, or this guy's got bitches and this guy doesn't have bitches. And it's like, who cares? Like, yeah, like, you got to have something to say because, if you don't have something to say, then you're the guy who didn't say anything and you don't want to go down in history like that. But again, that got to a point where people's lives were lost. Do I think this is going to get to the point where people's lives are lost? Personally, no. I've been surprised before, and I wouldn't necessarily be all that surprised if something happened. But I would like to believe that the majority of people at this point in time are reasonably sane-minded. However, there is also the controversy regarding Drake having something to do with XXXTentacion dying. Look, I'm not here to speak on that. Although I potentially could. Yeah, I don't really think it's going to be that big of an issue, and I think something that people have to remember when it comes down to a rap beef like this is they're both making a hell of a lot of money. Okay? Whoever comes out on top or whoever's the loser in this situation, they're still making fucking bank, okay? I mean, just looking at the streams that Kendrick Lamar has on Spotify alone, right? Like, Euphoria already at 28 million streams. It came out 2 days ago, you know? So, this is big attention for them. And they're able to make the music. I mean, I love seeing artists make music because they've got something to make music for. They're not just putting out an album because the record label says, hey man, you got to get that album out, you know, with sales. This is just two guys who've got something to say about the other guy, and I'm here for it. I'm here to hear what they both have to say. I don't have to summarize the whole beef here. That's not really the point of this video, you know, where it started, where it is now. It's going to keep changing. I'm not here to really give my impressions, although I think Kendrick is winning. I just kind of wanted to address it a little bit because, again, it doesn't really matter. But for some reason, it's just this thing that nobody can stop talking about, myself included. Like, I don't go on TikTok with the intention of finding more beef between Kendrick and Drake. But when I go on TikTok and I see beef between Kendrick and Drake, I go, oh shit, a new song dropped? I'm in. And then I get to hear more Kendrick Lamar, which I'm never going to complain about. So I think at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, but it matters because of how little it matters. If that makes any sense. I don't know. So I figure, obviously, the name of the channel is Subjectively Unbiased. If I'm giving a sort of review, I feel like I will give a subjective perspective and an unbiased perspective about the situation. So subjectively, I'm here for it. I love chaos. I love seeing two dudes just duking it out for the sake of duking it out, talking shit, fucking throwing swings left and right for the sake of throwing them. I'm all about that. I really am. But again, I really just hope it doesn't get to the point where anybody loses their life over it. It's words. Like, if you're that hurt over what Kendrick has to say, then, I mean, I don't know, who gives a shit? Like, he's not living your life. Like, if you're really that content with your own life, this, I guess, is me talking to Drake now. Like, if you're content with your own life and you're comfortable in your own existence, like, it really shouldn't make that much of a difference what Kendrick has to say about you and vice versa. Like, who gives a shit what Drake has to say? But I guess that was the point, is, you know, he didn't want to be lumped in with them as the big three. Maybe it was just straight up beef with Drake. He's like, I don't fucking lump me with that dude. He's a creep. And he's now exposing it. Whatever it is, man, I'm here for it. I hope it keeps going, but obviously I hope it doesn't get dragged out to the point where either someone dies or the quality of music is just fucking trash. But so far, Kendrick still seems to be flexing his Pulitzer, and Drake still seems to be flexing his record label. So, you know, that's my subjective take on it. Unbiased, who cares? Realistically, who cares? Nobody, right? I mean, Kendrick and Drake, maybe their families, maybe their record labels, like, I'm sure they care. But, I mean, like, what does it do for somebody else? Like, what's it doing for me? What's it going to do for my girlfriend if I play her the song later? Nothing. It doesn't matter. But it's a moment in the zeitgeist that I think is important to at least acknowledge. I think we would all be remiss if we didn't at least acknowledge the fact of, hey, there's a rap beef going on, and there hasn't really been a good quality rap beef in what feels like decades. So I think that's it for me right there, right now. I'm sure I'll be back to gaming content at some point. I would also be very interested in branching into movie content. It's May 5th, so it is Revenge of the 5th. I've been watching the prequel trilogy because Phantom Menace came out in theaters on the 3rd, so I went and watched that. Yesterday I decided to watch Attack of the Clones. Tonight I'm just going to continue it. So every time I watch Star Wars, I've always got something to talk about, so I'd love to make some videos about it, but I have to figure out the whole fair use thing and how to record. It's a whole thing, but if I get it figured out, I would really like to address it and talk about it in a future video. So for now, if you wanted to leave a like if you enjoyed this, leave a comment if you got something to say, subscribe if you want something to see, and yeah, I'll see you next week. Peace out.